Hey everyone, Jen here, and today we have another new video. This week we are going to be tackling the quilted book sleeve. This comes in various sizes, so multiple different hoop sizes, multiple different device sizes, and book sizes. So make sure you pull up that PDF, go through all the sizes, all the materials needed. It is a 3 hooping project. First hooping is the tab. The second hooping is the front of the device sleeve, and the last hooping is the back of the device sleeve. So we're going to be starting with hooping number 1, which is the tab, and you're going to want to use tearaway for this. You're also going to want to prep your tab fabric with SF 101 or interfacing on at least the front side of the tab. Both sides really is not necessary. So you're going to go ahead and run your placement stitching, and then you're going to place your fabric with the SFF right side up, and you'll see this is tacking that fabric into place. It's next going to run the detail stitching, so if you want to change thread colors here, go ahead and do so. The next step is going to run the small placement stitching for your snap. And then once that's ran, you're going to take your second piece of fabric and you're going to lay it right side down, so right sides together, and you're going to go ahead and run your final step. Once that's done, you're just going to set this aside and we will take care of it once we get to hooping number 3, which again will be the back of the device sleeve. Okay, hooping number 2, you're going to want to go ahead and hoop up poly mesh or a lightweight cutaway. And you're going to go ahead and run your placement stitching right onto the stabilizer. Then you're going to take your batting and your fabric that you would like to be on the front of your sleeve. You're going to layer them together. So batting first, then your fabric right side up, and you're going to place it over the placement stitching on your stabilizer. So step 2, as shown just now, is going to tack down your batting and your fabric together in one stop. And then it's going to go ahead and run the quilting, which takes a little bit, which is good, gives you time to prep some other pieces. So your liner piece, if you haven't prepped that, go ahead and cut that down and give it a nice iron. After you run your quilting is going to be where you'll want to place any kind of design or monogram. So once this is done, that's the step you're going to do it. Also, I personally prefer 2 layers of batting in my sleeves. So any size, probably 7-11 up, I use 2 layers of batting on both sides of the front and the back. So if your machine can handle that kind of bulk or your foot can be raised, that might be something you'll be interested in. All right, so again, design will be placed now. Grab your liner and place it right side down. So right sides together, and you're going to go ahead and run the final step, which is going to combine the liner and the front. So it goes back and forth, and that's the only tack down you'll have. Next up, let's prep them. Okay, so we have our tab and our front/liner piece. So let's go ahead and pull out the stabilizer from the tab. I should have used Tear Easy by Sulky. That would have came out a lot easier in this tiny, tiny little strip. You can also just leave that if you don't care. I was committed at this point and it was really, honestly annoying. So I got that all out. Go ahead and trim the outer edge of your tab, leaving a seam allowance up top. So you have something to go into your seam allowance when you tack it down. So turn it right side out. You're going to go ahead and push those corners out and then set it aside, and we'll iron it in just a second. All right. So liner and front of sleeve is next. You're going to want to go ahead and I trim off all of the stabilizer because it just gets in the way, honestly. So trim that off. And then next, we're going to go ahead and trim down where the liner meets the front. So flip it over. You're going to want to leave about 1/8 of an inch seam allowance on the top. So go ahead and trim that down, and then go ahead and open up your liner/front as shown. Get your iron ready. And then we're going to flip them. So the liner to the back, and you kind of roll it over and go ahead and give that a press to keep it into place. And then I flip it over to the front, make sure it's all lined up nicely. Go ahead and press that. And then I like to, sorry for the camera shake, trim around my project. So I leave about 1/4 of an inch seam allowance around the 3 edges. It just makes it easier to place, I think. And then go ahead and give your tab a press. Make sure that's all nice and crisp. And then once you're done, we're going to be ready for hooping number 3. All right, so hooping number 3 is going to be another round of poly mesh. You're going to go ahead and run the placement step. Again, this is the final hooping. This is the back of the device sleeve. So placement stitching first, then you're going to go ahead and create that batting fabric sandwich just like we did on the front. So place the batting first, then lay your fabric on the top, making sure that your fabric is placed correctly where you want to see it on the back of your sleeve. So the next step is going to go ahead and tack it into place just like the previous hooping. And then after your fabric is tacked into place, you're going to go ahead and run all of that quilting stitching again. So while this is going, we really don't need to prep anything. We just prepped the tab, we prepped the front. So now you can just sit back and watch all that fun quilting stitch. All right, after the quilting's done, the next step is going to be running the placement stitch for the tab, and my camera cut off. So after quilting, run the placement stitch, then you're going to take your tab and you're going to place it right side down. Make sure that the stitching, the closure is above your tack down line for your front, just slightly. And then you're going to go ahead and tack your tab into place. If you need a closer look, go ahead and pull up the PDF for this step. Again, right side facing down. So your two right sides are going to be together. And then once you run your tab, as shown here, you're going to go ahead and take your hoop off the machine, and I'm going to show you some marks. So here I'm marking the top of the sleeve just so you can see it. And then I like to mark about 1/8 to 1/4 inch down. So you can see me marking either side. And this is where you're going to line up your liner / front. So you need to line your liner and your front below the top tack down line. If it is above that tack down line, you will sew your sleeve closed. So you can see me lining up. The front is right side down, so both snails are together. The liner should be facing you. Okay, so make sure when you get it back to the machine that is placed correctly. I like to look and see if I can see the outer stitching of the quilting of the front of the sleeve. Once you're confident it's into place, you're going to go ahead and run the next step, which is going to connect the two pieces. And once you run this step, you'll see I check it all over again. So I flip up all of the sides to make sure I can see quilting on the front. If I can, then I know it's placed correctly. So then you're going to take your final piece, which is your final piece of liner, and you're going to place it right side facing down toward the other liner, and then you're going to run your final step. All right, go ahead and take your project out of the hoop. Again, I like to trim off all of this extra stabilizer because it just gets in the way. So trim that off, and then I'm going to go ahead and mark the hole opening so you can see it better. So this is where you're going to turn your book sleeve. So go ahead and leave. You're going to want to leave yourself some material to tuck into your book sleeve. So go ahead and trim around the outer edge at about 1/8, maybe a little bit tighter than that. Make sure that you clip the top 2 corners, and then you're going to go ahead and separate your 2 liner pieces, pull those aside, and then you're going to trim off all of that extra fabric. You do not need it. So you can see here I clip the corners, and then we're going to go ahead and turn it right side out. So turn your project right side out through the hole. I am using Ann Crawford's turning tool here. It is linked below. Julie might be out of stock on those, but go ahead and press all of your corners out and then get your iron ready. And we're going to go ahead and give your project a nice press from the inside. Then you're going to go ahead and tuck in your fabric as shown. And I use the Heat and Bond hem tape to close my holes. So you can see here, I'm just ripping that and tucking it inside of the hole there. And then you give it, yeah, make sure it's straight, give it an iron, and now that hole is sealed. Okay, so you're going to turn your project right side out. Again, push out all of the corners with your turning tool, and you're going to go ahead and give it a nice press and prep for snaps. Okay, so the snaps that we're going to use are cam snaps in matte. You can see the package here. They are size 20. You're going to need a set of female and a male set. You're going to go ahead and punch a hole in your tab where it's marked. I use a crocodile. And then you're going to fold your tab over, make sure you leave a little space at the top, and you're going to mark through that punch hole where your other snap is going to go. Go ahead and punch a hole where that is placed, and then we're going to place our snaps. So I use a press as shown. I don't like the hand press. I don't think it gives enough power. So you're going to place your first snap so you can see the actual snap, and you're going to place it in your press. Doesn't matter male or female. Press it down to secure. Okay. The next one we're going to do the other snap. So I got to switch heads here to the other size. And you're going to place your snap, the right side, which is the snap, on the inside of your sleeve. You want the connector on the outside. Go ahead and snap that into place as shown. And then all finished. Have a nice book sleeve.